might not be the most perfect option, but he won't undo Roe v. Wade, end gay marriage, pretend COVID-19 isn't real, and allow white supremacy to run rampant in this country. Voting for a third party means that less people vote for Biden, but not enough people will ever vote for a third party to beat Trump. You would just be taking votes away
We're
from
live,
Biden.
by the way.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Yeah. I said we have a two-party system. As much as it sucks, we can find a way to change it when democracy isn't at stake.
Yeah.
This fucking idiot.
Just want to see. Yeah, see, I think this camera's better.
Does it work?
To use this. Yeah, it's working.
Okay.
See? No lag.
Cool.
Boom!
Figured it out.
I did it, pussies!
Remember that for next time. How did you do it?
I just switched it to fucking what we had it originally. I had window capture still open, but I had display capture still here, and that's what we had to use. Nobody's here though, so I'm gonna throw on some fucking lo-fi. Because these hoes, can't trust these hoes. And we're not really live, we're live. There's no, wow, what the fuck? Why is my thing lagging? Alright, it's fucking, Jill's right here. Hi, Jill. I'm putting on some music because I still need to get snacks for this shit. To deal with the mental fucking pressure of this. Sai's not here today. I don't know if you can even hear me because it says that we're lagging. Which makes 0 sense. But hi. There we go. Now we're actually live. Amen. Let me go to my home. What I needed was this. This bitch. There we go. Let me throw this shit up right now. Okay. Welcome to this shit. Hi, Crispy Beans. Hi, everyone. This is Riley.
I'm a sexy maid.
I'm Tim. I'm gonna go get snacks. I make one promo TikTok. And, fuck NBC News. We don't need to see their fucking propaganda. We're more important.
Did you read the chat?
No. I took an edible 20 minutes ago. I'm ready.
Oh, you're a stag, son.
You are prepared.
Chillin'.
Alright, so I'm gonna go get you. Are you coming to get a snack with me?
I'm down, dude.
Alright, so you guys will see this blank screen. We'll be right back. You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
Before we leave? I'm gonna do this. Wait, I'm a fucking genius. Where is it? Ah!
There you go.
Give me a second. Don't fucking ruin my genius right now.
I won't look, don't worry.
Where the fuck is it? Ah, there it is. Alright. Oh, shit. I didn't do that. That wasn't me. Alright, ready? Fucking genius.
Uh-oh. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's barely legible. Oh, shit. I needed to shake this more. Oh, here we go.
Oh my god.
Alright, we'll be right back. We gotta get a snack. Hope you guys are all living.
We are set, baby. What's up, chat? Hope you guys got your snacks ready. This is gonna be a shit show. Hello. Who is this guy? Ready to go?
I got ice cream, dog. I'm ready.
Oh, baby.
I'm ready. All 42 people in here. Thank you all for coming. It's very appreciated. You're all very cool-looking people. It does start in a minute, but it doesn't even seem like it's starting on the stream.
Who's
the way
that guy?
I'm looking at, he's definitely a virgin. I can tell you that part. Where's my phone?
How many times are you gonna lose it?
Listen. It's just playing my TikTok I just posted on repeat. I bet you Pence shows up late.
This guy looks, or not this guy, but the guy that was just, this guy looks like meat that has been beaten one too many times.
Is meat? They can't even see it. We should let them see it while we.
You see this guy?
While we shit
he
on
looks,
people.
he looks leathery.
He looks sexy as fuck.
Who are you?
Who are you? She looks like she's having a great time.
I like to imagine like all the people that have to like talk about this are like comm majors that graduated from college like 2 minutes ago, and they have to deal with this bullshit.
I would just quit.
This guy's got his AirPods and he's like at home. He's like, honey, I'm gonna be on.
Dude, he had to find a wall.
Yeah.
I hate that. You know how much that sucks? Finding a wall to be like, this is how we gotta watch this.
You don't need to find a wall here. We make our own walls, baby.
We make our walls.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for following whoever just did. Very cool of you.
Very cool, Kanye.
Is this oh, it isn't in sync. I know why it's not in sync. Give me a second.
Why is that?
Because I changed my settings.
Better change those back.
I know. I forgot to change it back. It's a bit out of sync. I know. Give me the camera. The camera's out of sync. It's a second behind. It should be in sync now. You're welcome, guys. Sorry.
Tim has to deal with so much with this streaming service that, like, he figures out how to fix everything and, like, ends up being really good at it, so.
I've just been bullshitting. So, why? What's happening? Oh, wait!
Uh-oh.
Are we started? It's in
Meanwhile.
Espanol on CC3.
Uh-oh. They're the two vice presidents.
Woo!
Oh, God.
Pence kind of looks like a turtle. Why do old Republican men look like turtles?
I don't know. Wow, she looks like Wednesday Addams, huh? What is going on there? Halloween came early. I'm fucking ready for this stream.
It's because my dog's probably biting the Ethernet cable. That's why if the stream freezes, it's Potter's fault.
What's this guy's name? Lester Holt.
Lester Holt.
Lester Holt.
Lester Holt.
This is Dateline. Uh-oh. Wait, Will Smith has a mask on.
That's Geoff Bennett.
He looks like Will Smith.
Let him go, you fucking
That looks like Will Smith.
We're gonna get that.
Dude, that's Gemini Man.
We're gonna put the audio on when the actual debate starts. Dude. We're not gonna put on the audio, now.
Dude, that's Gemini Man.
When we're just talking.
Did you ever see Gemini Man with Will Smith?
I'm not putting on the audio until, I hear Mike Pence.
You're not
Dude, they are so close to each other.
Yeah, they're basically kissing.
I know there's plexiglass.
You have a brain tumor, sir.
Plexiglass in between them, but that doesn't look like shit.
Uh-oh.
I think this lady has a Republican bias or something.
What, did they get rid of the last guy because he just couldn't handle it? Couldn't take it?
It changes every time.
Oh.
The next one is by a C-SPAN guy who literally gets cursed out and he goes, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because I watched a video on like reviewing the biases of all the moderators.
Ah, that's good, yeah.
And fucking no, the C-SPAN guy's sad.
Really? They're all sad.
He lets like call-ins come in, and
God.
like he listens to them, and he's like, "You're a fucking piece of shit, you commie bastard." He's like, "Okay, next question."
He gets heckled?
Yeah, he gets heckled.
That's ridiculous. This guy's been through it. Look at his hair.
That's the thing.
You
can tell how stressed a person is by their thinning hairline.
Yeah, dude. He's on divorce number 3. Like while COVID's happening, bro. Poor guy. Oh, it gets better, buddy. Oh my God, Joan Rivers, she's back! No way! There she is!
Who is that? Like, that's an actual person.
She looks like Joan Rivers. My goal in life is to have my face
Is this Kellyanne Conway?
look like this.
It doesn't
Hello?
say. The captions are in the way. Son of a bitch. Nobody can read the captions anyway. I'm turning them off.
Yeah, YouTube is like, peanut butter. It's like deciding.
like makes them up. We're not even live.
We'll do it live.
Oh shit! We're on!
Uh-oh.
Everybody shut up.
Oh my God.
Everybody shut up. Oh my God. They're clapping.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Hi, Stitch.
Senator Harris.
Oh shit, we are at 83 viewers. I have to put on the maid outfit.
Students, take your seats.
As President Trump and the First Lady continue to undergo treatment in Washington after testing positive for COVID-19.
No!
Thoughts and prayers to them for their rapid and complete
Riley, I'm
recovery
breaking everything.
and for the recovery
Where's your
of
tack? You're
everyone
off the
afflicted by the coronavirus.
Is it still in the wall? Or did it
It's
continue
in the
down?
Commission on Presidential
Yeah,
Debates have
down.
agreed to the ground
I just don't
rules
think I
for
put it
debate.
in. I'm gonna just sit
I'm
in this
here
corner
to
and
enforce
undress.
them
Don't look at me.
on behalf
Dude,
of
I'm
the
gonna turn the
millions of
camera on.
Americans who are
Dude,
watching.
don't.
One note,
I need
no
the
one
money
in
for
either
my own. I
campaign
need the
or
content
at
for
the
my
commission
OnlyFans.
or anywhere else
I'll
has been
give you
told
the
in
headpiece
advance
in a
what
second.
topics I'll raise.
The headpiece?
or
No,
what
you keep
questions
it. I'll wear the
ask.
pink cowboy.
You think so?
Yeah.
This
No,
90-minute
let's do
debate will
it.
be
You guys are about to
divided
get some
into
fan
9
service, son.
segments of about 10 minutes each.
That's all my
I'll
streams
begin
are,
a
dude.
segment
This is
by
just a
posing
preview
question to each
of the
of you.
fit.
Sometimes the same question, sometimes a different question
I thought I
on
ripped
the
the
same
fucking.
topic.
This is such a trashy
You will then
made
have
outfit.
2 minutes
It's pretty
to answer
sexy.
without interruption.
I mean, I'm not
by
going to speak
me
for you because
or
you're
the
about to
other
show them,
candidate.
but
I probably
Then we'll
should
take
have gotten
6
a
minutes or
smaller size.
so.
where's
to
the
discuss the issue.
short skirt
At
for
that
senpai,
point,
dude?
although there will always
Oh,
be
put
more
that
to
on.
say,
Oh.
we'll move
I'm gonna
on to
take
the
off
next
my.
Oh,
fucking
baby.
We want a
That's
debate
almost like my tuxedo
that is
t-shirt.
lively. But
Ooh.
Americans also
almost there, son.
deserve a discussion that is civil.
Did the sweatpants stay on
These
during
are
cleaning or
tumultuous
what?
times,
yeah.
but we
Did
can
you?
and will
Yeah.
have
I wasn't
a
sure what kind of
respectful
party it was.
exchange about the big issues facing our nation. Let's begin with the
I'm
ongoing
taking it off, though,
pandemic
for the
that has
culture.
cost
Oh,
our
I
country
see.
so much.
But in an average cleaning
Senator
situation,
Harris,
I'd be
the
Right,
wearing.
you gotta be
coronavirus
sanitized,
is not
especially during
under
COVID.
control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Over the
actually
past
a
week,
fucking,
Johns
For
Hopkins
sure.
reports
That's my
that
hazmat suit.
39
Don't melt your Crocs.
states have
I
had
know, that's
more
what I'm scared
COVID
of.
cases
I'm
over the
fucking
past
right
7
next to
days.
Peter.
Oh, he's got the
than the
Crocs
week
on with the
before.
mink.
The
Oh,
Crocs
Who
Puma socks with
Who
the
is
vein
he?
outfit?
Even if a vaccine is
Dude,
released soon,
just wait.
the next administration will
Uh-oh.
face
Uh-oh.
some choices.
What are they asking?
What would a
I don't know, I
Biden
can't even hear them.
administration
Gotta
do in
turn them up.
January and
Yeah.
February that a Trump administration wouldn't do?
The
Would
fit.
you impose new
My bad,
lockdowns
boys.
for businesses and schools and hotspots?
You muted it.
To respond without
shit.
interruption.
Thank you, Susan.
Oh,
Well,
shit, fucking
the
stop.
American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country.
Right out the gate.
And here are the facts.
Here are the facts.
210,000 dead people in our country.
Facts
Just the
don't care about
last
your
several
feelings,
months.
Kamala, right?
Over 7 million people who have contracted this disease. 1 in 5 businesses
They have different American
closed.
flags.
We're looking at
One's
frontline
waving,
workers
one's
who have
not.
been treated like sacrificial workers.
You know what's insane?
We are looking at over 30
The
million
realm of
people
unbelievability has
who
been
in the last
expanded
several
so
months
much
had to
that like
file for unemployment.
people don't
And
care
here's the
that he
thing.
wants to
On
shock gay
January
people into not being
28th,
gay.
The vice president and the president were informed
There's only
about
there's
the
only
nature
so
of
much
the
I can
pandemic.
made
They
out
were
for this
informed that it's
shot.
lethal in
Do you
consequence,
get what I'm
that
saying?
it is airborne,
Turning lesbians straight.
that it will affect young people.
That's all you need. That's why
and
these
that
people are here.
it would
I thought
be
shock therapy
contracted
meant, like,
because it is airborne.
Exposure.
You go.
I thought it was. I
And
thought
they
it was
knew
Mayboy
what was
exposure.
happening,
You
and
flashed
they
them.
didn't tell you.
That's
Can
shock
you
therapy.
imagine
I
if
hate
you
how
knew on
ugly these
January
old people are.
28th,
Yeah.
as opposed to March 13th,
I don't
what
think
they
I'm
knew,
that
what
old,
you might have done to prepare? They knew and they covered it up. The president said it was a hoax. They minimized the seriousness of it. The president said, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And in spite of all of that, today they
I
still
want to
don't
put
have a
Mike Pence in the
plan.
electric chair. I really do.
They still don't have a plan. Well, Joe Biden does. And our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine, and making sure that it will be free for all. That is the plan that Joe Biden has and that I have, knowing that we have to get a
Mike
hold
Pence
of
looks
what
like
has
my
been
great
going
uncle. It makes
on.
me sad.
And we need to save our country. And Joe Biden is the best leader to do that. And frankly, this administration has forfeited
Thank you,
their right to re-election based on this.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, more than 210,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 since February.
What did I say? COVID-19
The
damage
U.S. death
control.
toll
The
as a
stream. Here we
percentage of our
are.
population
Welcome.
is higher than
Why
that of
does he
almost
look
every
sad?
other wealthy nation on
It's just his
Earth.
face, dude.
For instance, our death rate is 2.5 times that of Canada next door.
Somebody sat on his face.
You
at one point.
head the administration's coronavirus task force.
He's a
Why
virgin.
is the
dude.
U.S. death toll as a
not seeing my
percentage of
story,
our
he's a virgin.
population
I hope so.
higher than that of almost every other
looks like a
wealthy
wax figure.
country? And you have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Susan, thank you.
Without
and I want to
interruption.
thank the Commission and the University of Utah for hosting this event. And Senator Harris, it's a privilege to be on the stage with you.
He's much more respectful.
Yeah.
And our nation has gone through a very
It's the way
challenging
that
time this year.
like fascists are much easier to like.
But I want the American people to know
get you when they're like
that from the
nicer.
very
Like
first
Trump, you can
day,
very easily label
President Donald Trump has put the health of America first.
Dude.
It's
Before
harder
there were
with Pence.
more than 5 cases in the United States, all people who had returned from China, President Donald Trump did what no other American president had ever done. And that was he suspended
edit my
all
stream titles.
travel from China, the second largest economy
Mike Pence
in the
lies
world.
on live television.
Made
Now,
comments.
Senator Joe Biden opposed that decision. He said it was xenophobic and hysterical.
Vice
But
President.
I can tell you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force, that decision alone by President Trump bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization
understands how good
since
this is.
World
Boomer
War
friends.
II. And I believe it saved hundreds of thousands of American lives. Because with that time, we were able to reinvent testing. More than 115 million tests have been done
literally
to
lying.
date.
She
We were
literally-
able to see to the delivery of billions of supplies so our doctors and nurses had the resources support they needed. And we began, really, before the month of February was out, to develop a vaccine and to develop medicines and therapeutics that have been saving lives all along
What's
the way.
Mike Pence's kink?
And under President Trump's leadership, Operation Warp Speed, we believe, will have literally tens of millions
So,
of doses
my-
of the vaccine before the end of
My
this year.
reason, the reason
The
Kamala
reality
should've
is, when you
done
look at the
too hard on
Biden
Mike
plan, it
Pence-
reads an awful lot
Mike Pence is definitely into
like
that.
what President Trump and I and our task
He
force
wants
have
a
been doing
strong
every
woman.
He looks getting his
step
nuts
of
set
the
though, for
way.
sure.
I mean, quite
Hey,
frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing
Please do
testing,
not peg
creating new
Pence.
PPE, developing a vaccine,
If you
it
wear
looks a little
socks,
bit like
it's not gay,
plagiarism,
he'd be okay with
which
it.
is something Joe Biden knows a little
think
bit
his
about.
wife's pegged him?
And I think the American people know that this is a president
is
who has
crazy.
put
She's,
the
like,
health of
laughing at
America
him.
first, and the
'Cause he's
American
lying.
people, I believe with my heart, can be
Thank you,
proud of the
Vice President.
sacrifices
This will
they
be on,
have
guys.
made. It
Don't
saved
worry.
Thank you,
countless
Vice
American
President.
lives.
Senator Harris, would you
I
like
just
to
need to do
respond?
something very
Absolutely.
important.
Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at over 210,000 dead bodies in our country,
this is very
American
important.
lives
This is
that
very
have been lost, families that are grieving that loss. And you know, the vice president is the head of the task force and knew on January 28th how serious this was. And then thanks to Bob Woodward, we learned
It all makes
that
sense.
they knew about
It all
it.
makes
And
sense.
then when that
This
was
is the lady
exposed,
that yells at my brother.
the
for
vice president
skateboarding.
said, when asked,
For
well, why
sure.
didn't y'all tell anybody? He said,
Look,
because
look
the
at the
president
little
wanted
bangs.
people
Okay.
to remain
Not the
calm.
bags.
Not
the bags.
This is not. This is
I know that
and I
she's-
want to
I know that she's
Mr.
Karen.
Vice President, I'm speaking.
she's-
I have to
I'm
weigh
speaking.
in.
Oh!
Yeah, you
So
can have
I-
15 more
Kamala.
seconds, and then we'll give the Vice President a chance to
So I want to ask
No,
the
but I'm
American
saying
people,
she's-
how
she's
calm were
definitely
you when you were
pegged
panicked
like
about where you're going
She's
to get
such a
your next
strong
roll of toilet
personality.
paper?
I hope that she wipes
How
the
calm
pants
were
right now,
you
bro.
when
Me
your
too.
kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back? How calm
Thank
were
you.
He
you
has no basis.
when your
Senator
children
Harris.
couldn't see your parents because you were afraid they could kill them?
Let's give Vice President Pence a chance to respond. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute to
You
respond.
know, there's not a day gone by that I haven't thought of every American family that's lost a loved one.
Bullshit.
And I want all of you to know that you'll always be in our hearts and in our prayers.
Suck a dick.
But when you say what the American people have done over these last 8 months hasn't worked, that's a great disservice to the sacrifices
No,
the
he
American
said
people
what
have
you've
made.
done hasn't worked.
The reality, if I may finish it,
Fucked.
the
He's trying to
reality
just-
is,
he's trying to
Dr.
move it-
Fauci said,
Move it over.
everything that he told the president in the Oval Office, the president
fucked.
told the American people. Now, President
you
Trump, I will
fucking
tell you,
didn't.
has boundless confidence in the American people,
Trying
and he
to
always
pin it
spoke with
on
confidence that
her
we'd get through
blaming
this
the American
together.
people and not blaming his
But when you say
administration.
it hasn't worked, when Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and our medical experts came to us in the second week of March, they said if the president didn't take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million
That was
Americans.
worst case scenario.
That's the reality.
Thank you.
They also
Thank you,
said
Vice
to us if we
President
did
Pence.
everything right, Susan, we
fuck
could
up,
still
Mike.
lose more than 200,000 Americans.
Vice
Now,
President
one
Pence.
life lost
Oh
is
my
too
fucking
many.
God.
That
Susan.
is Mike. What are they
But the
doing?
American people, I believe, deserve credit for the sacrifices that they have made, putting the health of their family and their neighbors first, our doctors, our nurses, our first
Thank you, Vice
responders.
President Pence.
And I'm going to speak up on behalf of what the American people have done.
Vice President Pence, you were in the front row in a Rose Garden event 11 days ago, at what seems to have been a super spreader event for senior administration and congressional officials. No social distancing,
COVID damage
few
control,
masks,
dude.
and now a cluster of coronavirus cases among those who were there. How can you expect Americans to follow the administration's safety guidelines to protect themselves from COVID when you at
I
the
don't know
White
where they
House
are. I
have not
bought
been
them.
doing
Cinnamon
so?
Toast Crunch.
But Cheez-Its, dude.
Well, the
Cinnamon Toast Crunch
American
or
people
Cheez-Its?
have demonstrated over the last 8 months
Let's
that when given the facts,
If- okay.
they're
The
willing
real
to put
debate.
the health of their families
Cinnamon
and their
Toast Crunch
neighbors
or
and people
Cheez-Its?
they don't even know
If Mike
first.
Pence, okay, if Mike Pence
President
blinks
Trump
4
and I have
times
great
in the next
confidence
30
in the
seconds.
American people and
I like that
It's-
wager.
their ability to take that information and put it into practice.
Yeah, but which is which?
When we were losing,
I'm gonna go the blink.
A heartbreaking number
You're
of
gonna go
2,500 Americans.
Oh fuck! You just blinked so much. You didn't blink the whole time, and then the second we looked. God,
the player hit the
game, baby.
Yeah, I'll turn off the following thing. I thought that it would make noise. My bad, guys.
But the reality is, the work of the President of the United States goes on. The vacancy on the Supreme Court of the United States has come upon us, and the President introduced Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Thank you, Vice President.
If I may say, that Rose Garden event, there's been a great deal of speculation about it. My wife Karen and I were there and honored to be there. Many of the people who were at that event, Susan, actually were tested for coronavirus. And it was an outdoor event, which all of our scientists regularly and routinely advise. They
don't advise you to go to
Trump
it.
And I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about mandates, and not just mandates with the coronavirus, but a government takeover of health care, the Green New Deal, all government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
Let's talk about respecting the American people. You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. You respect the American people when you have the courage to be a leader speaking of those things that you may not want people to hear, but they need to hear so they can protect themselves.
My maid is here.
But this administration stood on information that if you had as a parent, if you had as a worker, knowing you didn't have enough money saved up, and now you're standing in a food line because of the ineptitude of an administration that was unwilling to speak the truth to the American people. So let's talk about caring about the American people. The American people have had to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked about
it is asking too much of the people.
Not your turn.
That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect their parents and their children.
Sorry. Kamala Harris, Senator Harris, I'm sorry.
It's fine, I'm Kamala.
No, you're Senator Harris to me. For life to get back to normal, Dr. Anthony Fauci and other experts say that most of the people who can be vaccinated need to be vaccinated. But half of Americans now say they wouldn't take a vaccine if it was released now. If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
I wouldn't
If
fucking take it.
Public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it.
Give me the
Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Vice President Pence, there have been a lot of repercussions from this pandemic. In recent days, the president's diagnosis of COVID-19 has underscored the importance of the job that you hold and that you are seeking. That's our second topic tonight. It's the role of the vice president. One of you will make history on January 20th. You will be the vice president to the oldest president the United States has ever had. Donald Trump will be 74 years old on Inauguration Day.
What?
Joe Biden will be 78 years old. That already has raised concerns among some voters, concerns that have been sharpened by President Trump's hospitalization in recent days. Vice President Pence, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with President Trump about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes without interruption.
Well, Susan, thank you, although I would like to go back.
I think we need to move on.
Well, thank you, but I would like to go back.
Fuck you!
Because the reality is that we're going to have a vaccine, Senator, in record time.
When?
In unheard of time, in less
And
than a
that's
year.
terrifying. That
We have
is
5
terrifying.
companies
Unheard
in
of time.
phase 3
Fuck
clinical
you.
trials.
Fuck
And we're
you,
right
dog.
now
hurting
producing
people.
tens of millions
The American
of doses.
people.
So the fact that you continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine, if the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives.
Shut up! Shut up!
No way did you say that.
This year. And it will have the capacity to save countless American lives, and your continuous
I can't believe
undermining
this.
of confidence in the vaccine is
He's
just,
not
it's just unacceptable.
But you know what? I will
And let
play
me
the
also
politics
say,
with fucking.
the reality is when you talk about
gay
failure
people's
in this
lives,
administration,
trans people's lives.
we
I'll play
actually do know what
politics with
failure looks like in a pandemic.
Who else can I
It
play
was
politics with?
2009.
immigrants' lives.
Oh, yeah,
Swine
for
flu
sure.
arrived in the United
Muslims'
States.
lives.
Anybody that's not rich and white and
Thankfully, it
him.
ended up named
Yeah,
not being as lethal
don't play
as the
politics
coronavirus.
on my old white man
Through
lives.
the end of the year,
Fuck you.
when Joe Biden was
Suck a
vice
dick.
president of the United States, not 7.5 million people contracted the swine flu. 60 million Americans contracted the swine flu.
What's that fucking
If the
song?
swine flu had been as lethal as the
that fucking
coronavirus
song?
in 2009,
Can't you
when Joe
just
Biden was
leave
vice
us
president,
alone
we
and
would have lost
also
2
no to the
million
things you
American
asked
lives.
for?
His own chief of staff, Ron
So hard to be a
Klain,
straight white male.
would
dude.
say last year that it was pure luck that they did, quote, everything possible wrong. And we learned from that. They left the strategic national stockpile empty. They left an empty and hollow plan, but we
Thank you,
still
Vice
learned
President
from it.
Pence.
And I think
literally
the
says
American
nothing.
people, I'm going to say again, can be proud
President Pence, I'm sorry,
of
your
what
time
we
is
have
up.
done.
Cut
And
his
Senator,
mic.
please
Thank you, Vice
stop
President
undermining
Pence.
confidence in a vaccine.
Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked Vice President Pence, which is, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with Vice President Biden about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, and if you win the election next month, do you think
that's a
you
fucking
should?
question
You have
for
2
both of
minutes
them.
uninterrupted.
So let
But
me
the
tell
thing
you
is,
first
both
of
of
all,
the fucking
the day
candidates
I
could
got
die at
the
any
call
fucking
from
second.
Joe Biden, it was actually a Zoom call, asking me to serve with him on this ticket was probably one of the most memorable days of my life. I thought about my mother, who came to the United States at the age of 19, gave birth to me at the age of 25 at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. And the thought that I'd be sitting here right now, I know would make her proud, and she must be looking down on this. Joe and I were raised in a very similar way. We were raised with values that are about hard work, about the value and the dignity of public service, and about the importance of fighting for the dignity of all people. And I think Joe asked me to serve with him because
He dies.
Oh.
I have a career that
You're on the course,
included
hardcore.
being
Yeah,
elected the
yeah.
first woman district attorney for San
I love
Francisco.
Diaz was like,
where I
yeah, the bitch
created
dies, the
models
bitch dies,
of
I'll do it.
innovation for law enforcement
say
in
that
terms
she's
of
prepared.
reform of the criminal justice
the
system. I was
Wicked
elected
Witch is dead!
the first woman of color and black woman to be elected Attorney General of the state of California, where I ran the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice. And there I took on everything from transnational criminal organizations
It's
to
good that
the
she's doing
big
this,
banks
though,
that were
she's saying
taking advantage of
how
homeowners
qualified she
to
is.
for-profit
Yeah, yeah.
colleges that were taking advantage of
chick.
veterans. And then, of course, now I serve in the United States Senate as only the second black woman ever elected to the United States Senate. I serve on the Senate Intelligence Committee, where I've been in regular receipt of classified information about threats to our nation and hotspots around
Kamala
the
would
world.
definitely
I've
give him a
traveled the world. I've met with our soldiers in war zones. And I think Joe has
Notice
asked
how
me
she
to serve
actually
with
knows how to
him
speak
because he
amazing.
knows that we share
Iconic.
a purpose which is about lifting up the American people. And after the 4 years that we have seen of Donald Trump unifying our country around our common values and principles.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Neither President Trump nor Vice President Biden has released a sort of detailed health information that had become the modern norm until the 2016 election. And in recent days, President Trump's doctors have given misleading answers or refused to answer basic questions about his health. And my question to each of you in turn is this information voters deserve to know? Vice President Pence, would you like to go first?
Well, Susan, thank you. And let me say,
Somebody
on behalf of the president
commenting random
and the
things.
First Lady,
What'd they say?
how moved we've all
It's
been
like weird.
by the outpouring of prayers and concern for the president. And I do believe it's emblematic of the prayers and the concern that have ushered forth for every American impacted by the coronavirus. But the care the president
I don't know, he was
received
just commenting
at
random
Walter Reed
stuff and it
Hospital,
was scaring me.
the White House doctors, was exceptional. And the transparency that they practiced all
Like he
along
was
the
having
way
a
will
conversation
continue.
with himself.
The American people have a right to know about the health and well-being of their president, and will continue to do that. But I'm just extremely grateful and was more than a little moved by the broad and bipartisan support. And Senator, I want to thank you and Joe Biden for your expressions of genuine concern. And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic nature of your nomination.
He's full of shit.
I never expected to be on this stage 4 years ago, so I know the feeling. But the reality is,
I hate it.
We've got an election before the American people in the midst of this challenging year. And the stakes have never been higher.
Thank you, Vice President. I want to give Senator Harris a chance to respond to the same question I asked, which is, do voters have a right to know detailed health information about presidential candidates and especially about presidents, especially when they're facing some kind of challenge?
Absolutely, and that's why Joe Biden has been so incredibly transparent, and certainly by contrast, the president has not, both in terms of health records, but also let's look at taxes. We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. When I first heard about it, I literally said, "You mean $750,000?"
That's what I
thought. It was like, no, $750.
We're in the
We
same
now know Donald
headspace.
Trump owes and is in debt for $400 million. And just so everyone is clear, when we say in debt, it means you owe money to somebody. And it'd be really good to know who the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, owes money to, because the American people have a right to know.
It was only like 300,000 billion.
Stormy Daniels said I could do the installment
And
plan.
is he making those decisions on the best interest of the American people, of you, or self-interest? So, Susan, I'm glad you asked about transparency, because it has to be across the board. Joe has been incredibly transparent over many, many years. The one thing we all know about Joe, he puts it all out there. He is honest, he is forthright. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, has been
putting it all out there. Whip it out.
Thank you, Senator Harris. I
Whip
want
it
to
out.
give you a
Show
chance
it
to
off,
respond, Vice President.
Well, look, I respect the fact that Joe Biden spent
Fuck
47
taxes.
years
Fuck
in public
taxes,
life.
dude.
And I respect your
Fuck all the
public
taxes.
service as well.
Dick pics. I want comparisons.
The American
I want
people have a
measurements, and I want to
president
see who has the bigger
who's
one.
a
That's who gets my
businessman.
vote.
It's a job creator.
Are you telling me to get you more right
Tens
now?
of millions of
Oh,
dollars in
Jesus.
taxes. Payroll
I was like,
taxes,
you
property
fucking
taxes. He's
asshole.
created tens of
Yeah,
thousands
just
of
ring the bell
American
and bring
jobs.
me snacks.
The president said those public reports are not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures the American people can
Okay, that's
We're all
not
review
tax
just as the law allows. But the distinction here is that Joe Biden, 47 years in public service, compared to President Donald Trump, who brought all of that experience 4 years ago.
Thank you,
And
Vice President.
turned this economy around by cutting taxes.
Turn the
rolling back
economy
regulations,
around?
Thank you,
American
Vice President.
energy,
It was like fucking
fighting for free
in
and fair
2015.
trade.
It was already
And all
fucking
of
great.
this
Thank you,
on the
Vice
line
President.
If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
You know, that's a good
White.
segue into our third
great
topic,
segue.
which is about the economy. This has been another aspect of life for Americans that's been so affected by this coronavirus. We have a jobs crisis brewing. On Friday, we learned that the unemployment rate had declined to 7.9% in September, but the job growth had stalled, and that was before the latest round of layoffs and furloughs in the airline industry at Disney and elsewhere.
Can I ask you a question?
Hundreds of thousands of discouraged workers have stopped looking for work. Nearly 11 million jobs that existed at the beginning of the year haven't been replaced. Those hardest hit include
you're still on
Latinos,
payroll.
blacks, and women.
Well, it's like a cut salary.
Senator
but
Harris,
like, it's
the
either
Biden-Harris
3/4 or half.
campaign has proposed new programs
Because
to
you're not
boost the
working.
economy, and you would pay for that new spending by raising $4 trillion in taxes
I don't know, let's
on
say
wealthy
that's 80
individuals
grand
and
salary, though.
corporations.
You get furloughs
Some
for, like,
economists
40
warn that
grand a
could
year.
curb entrepreneurial ventures
starting a business.
that fuel growth
But, like,
and
that's not
create
considered
jobs.
furloughed.
Would
get
raising
furloughed, like,
taxes
people
put the
earn, like,
recovery
minimum
at
wage.
risk? And you have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
Thank you.
Oh shit.
On the issue of the economy, I think there couldn't be a more fundamental difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden believes you measure the health and the strength of America's economy
but
based
which one
on
do we
the
think
health
big-
and the
big
strength
movie mind
of the
openers?
American worker and the American family.
This is the question I'm asking.
On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is why he passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America, leading to a $2 trillion deficit that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden
Isn't that
will
back in
repeal
America?
that tax bill.
Blackfish?
He'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
And what he'll do with the money is
Fly
invest
killer
it in the American people. And through a plan that is about investing in infrastructure,
No,
something
Mike
that Donald
Pence
Trump
actually
said he
looks
would
more
do.
like
I
the
remember
way.
hearing about some infrastructure week. I don't think it ever happened. But Joe Biden will do that. He'll invest
that
in
should be
infrastructure. It's
useful.
about upgrading our
Black
roads and
fishing,
bridges,
but
but
it
also
just means you
investing in
look
clean
very well.
energy and renewable energy.
I think Mike
Joe is
Pence
going to invest that money in what
is,
we
like,
need to
more
do
level-headed
around
than Trump.
innovation. There
But I
was a
think
time
he
when our
knows
country
in his
believed in
head
science
that there is nothing
and
to their
invested in
administration.
research and development so that we were an
They
innovation
sat in the
leader
office and pressed
on the
buttons
globe.
for 4 years.
Joe Biden will use that money to invest in
He's not
education.
doing anything.
But
So, for
pressing buttons is
example,
so much
for
fun,
folks
dude.
who want to go to
Yeah.
a 2-year community college, it will be free. If you come from a family that makes less than $125,000, you'll go to a public university for free. And across the board, we'll make sure that if you have student loan debt, it's cut by $10,000. That's how Joe Biden thinks about the economy, which is it's about investing in the people of our country as opposed to passing a tax bill, which had the benefit of letting American corporations go offshore to do their business.
Thank you, Senator
welcome.
Harris.
For the person
Vice
that
President
asked,
Pence, your administration has been
Kamala
predicting a
Harris is
rapid
black
and robust recovery,
fucking
but the
Harris
latest
is
economic report
Jamaican
suggests
and
that's
Indian
not
American.
happening. Should Americans
sure.
be
I'm pretty
braced
positive.
for an economic comeback that is going to take not months, but a year or more? You have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
When President Trump and I took office, America had gone through the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression.
That's not true.
So when Joe Biden was vice president, they tried to tax and spend and regulate and bail our way back to a growing economy.
From the
President
Great
Trump cut
Recession.
taxes across the board.
The worst
Despite
recession
what
since the Great
Senator Harris
Depression.
says, the average American family of four had $2,000 in savings in taxes. And with the rise in wages that occurred, most predominantly for blue-collar, hardworking Americans,
Not true.
the average household income for a family of four increased by $4,000 following President Trump's tax cuts. But
have
America, you just heard
$4,000
Senator Harris
saved?
tell
I
you,
don't fucking have
on day
$4,000.
one,
My parents sure don't have
Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes.
$4,000.
It's really remarkable to think that, I mean, right after
They
a
mean for
time
the-
where we're
for
going
the
through a
fucking bills
pandemic
every
that
month?
lost 22 million jobs at the
He's
height.
like
We've
trying to
already
figure out
added
how he
back
manages to worm his
11.6
way out of
million
every
jobs
question.
because we had a president who cut
baffled.
taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed
Absolutely-
American energy, fought for free and fair trade,
mental.
and secured $4 trillion from the Congress of the United States to give direct payments to families, save 50 million jobs through the
Pence, I don't
Paycheck
care.
Protection
Whip out your
Program.
dick, put
We
on the
literally
maid
have
outfit.
spared no expense to help the American people and the
The shorter
American
the
worker
skirt, the
through
more
this.
unlikely to
Joe
vote.
Biden and Kamala Harris
fact.
want to raise taxes.
It-
They want
okay.
to bury our
This is my-
economy
okay,
under
this
a
is my
$2 trillion Green
Trump
New
puts on
Deal,
a maid outfit.
which
Right.
you were one of the original co-sponsors of in
Does
the
he
United
gain
States
more
Senate.
support?
They want to abolish fossil fuels and ban fracking, which
He's
would
the
cost
ironic
hundreds of
That's what I'm thinking,
thousands of American jobs
And I
all
don't think
across
he
the
loses any
heartland.
support.
And Joe Biden
'cause
wants
that's
to go
why
back
anything
to the
does.
economic surrogate
exactly.
of China, that
Doesn't
when
lose.
we took office, half
That's
of
why
our
you should do
international
it.
trade deficit
Trump
was with
and a
China
maid outfit.
alone. And Joe
Trump
Biden
and
wants
maid
to
outfit
repeal
queen.
all of the tariffs that President Trump put into
mask
effect to fight for American jobs and American workers. Joe Biden says democracy's on the ballot. Make no mistake about it, Susan. The American economy, the American comeback is on the ballot with 4 more years of growth
Thank you.
and opportunity,
Thank you.
4 more
The
years of
growth has been
President
so
Donald
slow.
Trump.
We're in the recession right now.
2021
Thank you,
is
Vice
the
President.
biggest economic year in the history of this country.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Senator Harris.
I was
Well, I
trying to
mean, I
stick that in
thought
the
we saw
fucking
enough
all
of it in
during
last
the
week's
week
debate,
week.
but I think this is supposed to be a debate based on fact and truth. And the truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear.
He looks
will
like
not
Voldemort.
raise taxes on
Yeah.
anybody who
Look,
makes less than
He
$400,000
said
a
he's going to
year.
repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, it'd
I'm speaking.
be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax
Cut
cuts.
his mic!
That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year.
doesn't matter.
That is
That's the math.
absolutely not true. That
Is he
tax
only
bill-
cutting? Is he only going to repeal part of the
Where's
Trump
the
tax cuts?
moderator?
If you
Ref
don't mind
for the
letting me
whistle!
finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay.
Oh, motherfucker!
Joe Biden will not
He's
raise
got him
taxes
on
on
the
anyone who
ropes.
makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden
Did you see the
is
fucking
the
eye
one
roll?
who, during the Great Recession, was responsible for the Recovery Act that brought America back. And now the Trump-Pence administration wants to take credit when they rode the coattails of Joe Biden's success for the economy that they had at the beginning of their term. Of course, now the economy is a complete disaster. But Joe Biden, on the one hand, did that. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has reigned over a recession that is being compared to the Great Depression. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who was responsible with President Barack Obama for the Affordable Care Act, which brought health care to over 20 million Americans and protected people with pre-existing conditions. And what it also did is it saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt because of hospital bills they could not afford. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan.
Yes,
and it's
we need to give Vice President.
He interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer,
got them all.
They're coming for you.
Facts.
If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition,
I'm on the
they're
chair.
coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris, thank you. Let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, I hope we have a chance to talk about health care because Obamacare was a disaster. The American people remember it well.
It was not.
And President Trump and I have a plan to improve health care and to protect
You've been here for 4 years.
conditions
You haven't done shit.
American.
Insulin prices has gone up.
Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. You yourself said on multiple occasions when you were running for president
That's over your
that you would ban fracking. Joe Biden looked his supporter in the eye and pointed and said, I guarantee that we will abolish fossil fuels.
What?
They have a $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal, Susan, that your newspaper, USA Today, said really wasn't that very different from the original Green New Deal. More taxes, more regulation.
Taxes on you, you billionaire fuck.
Abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Thank you very, very much, Vice President Pence. Once again, you've provided the perfect segue to a new topic, which is climate change. And Vice President Pence, I'd like to pose the first question to you.
I'm ready.
This year, we've seen record-setting hurricanes in the South. Another one, Hurricane Delta, is now threatening the Gulf.
For environmental
and we have
law.
seen
Let's see how this
record-setting
goes.
wildfires in the West. Do you believe, as the scientific community has concluded, that man-made climate change has made wildfires bigger, hotter, and more deadly, and have made hurricanes wetter, slower, and more damaging?
Dude,
you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
He's going to go back. He's going to go back. Well, the American people.
Well, first, I'm very proud of our record on the environment and on conservation.
My response to that question.
According to all of the best estimates, our air and land are cleaner than any time ever recorded.
Not cleaner. You cut
and just a little while ago, the president signed the Outdoors Act, which is the largest investment in our public lands and public parks in 100 years. So President Trump has made a commitment to conservation to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change, the climate is changing.
They love it.
But the issue is, what's the cause and what do we do about it? President Trump has made it clear that we're going to continue to listen to the science. Now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. They'd impose the Green New Deal, which would crush American energy, would increase the energy costs of American families in their homes, and literally would crush American jobs. And President Trump and I believe that the progress that we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know, what's remarkable is the United States has reduced CO2 more than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord that we've done through innovation.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? ExxonMobil is literally trying to release as much CO2 as the country of Greece to curb fucking CO2 emission efforts to lower it, so that they can say that they have no effect.
Both of you repeatedly committed to abolishing fossil fuel.
If we had free market capitalism, which America doesn't,
by creating the kind of American
if we had free market
innovation,
capitalism,
we're
we'd be
actually
selling
steering
air.
toward a stronger and better environment. With regard to wildfires, President Trump and I believe that forest management has to be front and center, and even Governor Gavin Newsom from your state has agreed we've got to work on forest management. And with regard to hurricanes, the National Oceanic Administration tells us that actually, as difficult as they are,
Thank you, Vice President.
there are no more hurricanes today than there were 100 years ago.
Thank you.
But many of the climate alarmists use hurricanes and wildfires to try and sell their bill of goods of a Green New Deal. And President Trump and I are going to always put American jobs and American workers first.
Senator Harris, as the Vice President mentioned, you co-sponsored the Green New Deal in Congress. But Vice President Biden said in last week's debate that he does not support the Green New Deal. But if you look at the Biden-Harris campaign website, it describes the Green New Deal as a crucial framework. What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green New Deal? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact. I will repeat that Joe Biden has been very clear that he thinks about growing jobs, which is why he will not increase taxes for anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said that. He said
Joe Biden's economic plan, Moody's, which is a reputable Wall Street firm, has said will create 7 million more jobs than Donald Trump's. And part of those jobs that will be created by Joe Biden are going to be about clean energy and renewable energy. Because you see, Joe understands that the west coast of our country is burning, including my home state of California. Joe sees what is happening on the Gulf states, which are being battered by storms. Joe has seen and talked with the farmers in Iowa, whose entire crops have been destroyed because of floods. And so Joe believes, again, in science. I'll tell you something, Susan. I served, when I first got to the Senate, on the committee that's responsible for the environment. Do you know this administration took the word science off the website and then took the phrase climate change off the website? We have seen a pattern with this administration, which is they don't believe in science. And Joe's plan is about saying we're going to deal with it, but we're also going to create jobs.
Get real.
Donald Trump, when asked about the wildfires in California, and the question was, the science is telling us this. You know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know.
Virgin.
So let's talk about who is prepared to lead our country over the course of the next 4 years on what is an existential threat to us as human beings. Joe is saying we're going to invest in renewable energy, which is going to be about the creation of millions of jobs. We will achieve net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan.
That's science.
This has been a lot of talk from the Trump administration. It really has been to go backward instead of forward. We will also re-enter the climate agreement with pride.
It's staying right there.
Senator Harris just said that climate change is an existential threat.
Your move,
Vice President Pence, do you believe that climate change poses an existential threat?
No.
As I said, Susan, the climate is changing. We'll follow the science. But once again, Senator Harris
climate change isn't a big deal.
Is denying the fact that they're going to raise taxes on every American. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that on day one he was going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Talk about economics.
Those tax cuts delivered $2,000 in tax relief to the average family of four across America. With regard to banning fracking, I just recommend that people look at the record. You yourself said repeatedly that you would ban fracking. You were the first Senate co-sponsor of the Green New Deal.
Oh my God.
And while Joe Biden denied the Green New Deal, Susan, thank you for pointing out, the Green New Deal is on their campaign website. And as USA Today said, it's essentially the same plan as you co-sponsored with AOC when she submitted it in the Senate.
We were really
And you just heard the senator say that she's going to resubmit America to the Paris Climate Accord. Look, the American people have always cherished our environment. We'll continue to cherish it. We've made great progress reducing CO2 emissions through American innovation and the development of natural gas through fracking. We don't need a massive $2 trillion Green New Deal that would impose all new mandates on American businesses and American families.
Thank you.
Joe Biden wants us to retrofit 4 million American business buildings. It makes no sense. It will cost jobs. President Trump is going to put America first. He's going to put jobs first, and we're going to take care of our environment and follow the science.
But, on the issue of jobs, Senator Harris, let's talk about that. The vice president earlier referred to as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment. The president's trade war with China.
Good for him.
Yeah,
good for
you
him.
lost that trade war. You lost it. What ended up happening is because of a so-called trade war with China, America lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs.
Where is it? I can't see it.
The Kruger Press.
Farmers
right there.
have experienced bankruptcy because of it. We are in a manufacturing recession because of it.
He does look like the yellow M&M.
And
he does look like the yellow
where
M&M.
this administration has been.
No, the chat said it wasn't even
by
me.
the end of the term of this administration, they will have lost more jobs than almost any other presidential administration. And the American people know what I'm talking about.
If fracking's so bad, why
I
does
think
it look
about
so good on
20-year-olds. You know, we have a 20-year-old, a 20-something-year-old who are coming out of high school and college right now, and you're wondering, is there going to be a job there for me?
Is fracking just a...
We're looking at people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent by the
Wait
end
a
of the month.
minute.
Almost half
You're talking about jobs?
Is this your
are worried about
application?
whether they're going to be able to pay rent by the end of the
Fracking is
month.
just a
This is
global
where the
debate.
economy is in America right now, and it is
Honestly,
because of
now
the
that you put it that way, I think we
catastrophe
should keep
and the failure of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond because then I
15?
want to move on to
I'd love to respond.
Are we going into a break or
lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden's been a cheerleader for communist China over the last several decades.
You literally sucked the dick of China.
Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts.
Time in office.
When Joe Biden was vice president, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. And President Obama said they were never coming back. He said we needed a magic wand to bring them back. In our first 3 years after we cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, this administration saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs created. And that's exactly the kind of growth we're going to continue to see as we bring our nation through this pandemic. The Green New Deal, your massive new mandates, your Paris Climate Accord, it's going to kill jobs this time just like it killed jobs.
I just need to respond very briefly.
15 seconds and
Thank you.
we'll move
Thank you. Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight.
What did Biden do about the Great
I'd like to
Depression?
talk about
That's right.
China. We have as our next topic,
follow the science.
we have no more complicated or consequential foreign relationship than the one with China.
Yeah.
It is a huge market for American agricultural goods. It's a potential partner in dealing with climate change in North Korea. And in a video tonight, President Trump again blamed it for the coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies? You have 2 minutes.
Well, before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can. You know, everybody knows that NAFTA cost literally thousands of American factories to close. We saw automotive jobs go south of the border. President Trump fought to renegotiate NAFTA. And the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is now the law of the land. American people deserve to know Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA.
Okay, Pence,
it was a huge win for American auto workers.
Gay, why is your
it was a huge win for American farmers, especially dairy in the upper Midwest.
The real debate.
But Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change. That you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American
Hey, guess what?
Jobs.
If we don't have a planet, guess where we
go?
go?
Know that is probably
to sleep forever.
Newsweek magazine
forever nap. If we don't have planet.
Kamala Harris was the most liberal member of the United States.
If environmental agenda is so good, why
more liberal than Bernie
fracking?
Sanders, more liberal than any of the others
Auto
in the United States Senate.
So
now, with regard to China,
that's all I'm saying.
Susan, first and foremost.
So you just didn't talk about China.
Pence wants to sleep forever. He wants no planet. He wants auto industry.
Dude, he's gonna.
And President Trump is not happy about it. He's made that very clear. Made it clear again today. And China and the World Health Organization did not play straight with the American people. They did not let our personnel into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades,
now it's China.
in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China.
Also, like, the only
President Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China.
Of course, there's much better ways of living.
No, Joe Biden opposed President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China. He said it was hysterical. He said it was xenophobic. But President Trump stood up to China. We're going to continue to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
We're going to improve the relationship. We're going to level the playing field. We're going to hold China accountable for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Thank you. Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked the Vice President. How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies? You'll have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Susan,
we're lovers.
Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives.
I'll kiss him every day.
American jobs, and America's standing.
What are you drawing, Doug?
Dude, just wait.
Are you trying to make Mike Pence
There's
right now?
a weird obsession that President Trump has had with getting rid of whatever accomplishment was achieved by President Obama and Vice President Biden. For example, they created within the White House an office that basically was responsible for monitoring pandemics. They got rid of it.
Not true.
There was a team of disease experts that President Obama and Vice President Biden dispatched to China to monitor what is now predictable and what might happen. They pulled them out. We now are looking at 210,000 Americans who have lost their lives.
Yes.
Let's look at the job situation. We mentioned before the trade deal, the trade war, they wanted to call it, with China. It resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing recession, and the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods because of that failed
Mike Pence.
war that they called it. Then let's talk about standing. Pew, a reputable research firm, has done an analysis that shows that leaders of all of our formerly allied countries have now decided that they hold in greater esteem and respect Xi Jinping, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, than they do Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. This is where we are today because of a failure of leadership by this administration.
His relationship with the...
Senator Harris, we've seen changes in the role of the United States in terms of global leadership over the past 4 years. And of course, times do change. What's your definition? We've seen strains with China, of course, as the Vice President mentioned. We've seen strains with our traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere. What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
What do you do, though?
So, you know, Joe is, I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues. And, you know, Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, you know, foreign policy might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And so we know this in our personal and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends.
It's not pedo because she's actually
got to be loyal to your friends. People who stood with you, got to stand with them. You gotta know who your adversaries are.
It's not pedophilia because she's actually 300 years old and she's an eternal witch.
What we have seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and embraced dictators around the world.
Actually, it's not pedophilia because we pretended she's an eternal witch that's actually 300 years old.
So, I serve on the Intelligence Committee of the United States Senate. America's intelligence community told us Russia interfered in the election of the President of the United States in 2016 and is playing in 2020. Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, said the same. But Donald Trump, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, prefers to take the word of Vladimir Putin over the word of the American intelligence community.
No, it's like penis, dude.
You look at our friends at NATO. He's walked away from agreements. You can look at the Iran nuclear deal, which now has put us in a position
See if we can see it.
where we are less safe because they are building up what might end up being a significant nuclear arsenal. We were in that deal, guys. We were in the Iran nuclear deal with friends, with allies in our own country. And because of Donald Trump's unilateral approach to foreign policy, coupled with his isolationism.
The thing that you don't realize.
He pulled us out and has made America less safe. So,
the thing you don't realize is
it's
when
about
you're,
relationships. And the thing that has always been part of the strength of our nation, in addition to our great military, has been that we keep our word. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that because he doesn't understand what it means to be honest.
Voice calls.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President, let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, thank you. President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem.
Put on the lolly
capital
voice,
of the
Pence.
state of Israel.
Lolly voice and made outfit now.
They promised to do that, and they never did. We stood strong with our allies, but we've been demanding. NATO is now contributing more to our common defense than ever before, thanks to President Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia-Pacific.
Not obscure,
and
but like
we've stood strong.
I haven't listened to either of their
against
music.
those who would do us harm.
No, like hard to discuss fucking
ISIS had captured an area
like international
of the Middle East the size of Pennsylvania. But President Trump unleashed the American military, and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader al-Baghdadi without one American casualty. Al-Baghdadi was responsible for the death of thousands, but notably Americans' hearts today are with the family of Kayla Mueller, her parents of which are here with us tonight in Salt Lake City.
Turn on the heat, it'll melt.
Today, 2 of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder were brought to justice in the United States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the other beaten. The reality is that
we just committed to climate change!
If ICE is in hot.
Breaks my heart to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval
Climate
Office,
must change.
presented a plan. They
NATO,
said they knew where Kayla
tornado,
was.
ISIS.
Baghdadi had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly before they killed her.
Headphones.
When Joe Biden was vice president, they hesitated.
I kind of want cat. I should get cat ear headphones.
When armed forces finally went in, it was clear she'd been moved 2 days earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Says with
I feel like I'm
heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice President.
We destroyed the ISIS caliphate.
Then you're
we talk about re-entering the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, the last administration transferred $1.8 billion to the leading state sponsor.
Thank you,
President Donald Trump got us out of the deal. And when Qasem Soleimani was traveling to Baghdad to harm to Americans, President Donald Trump took you out.
It's great that the
America
people
is
leading a
safer, our allies
international
are safer, and the
superpower
American people
with
know President Donald Trump
qualifications to
will
launch
never
Thank you, Vice President.
take action.
Let's
I
go
would
here
like to give
and
Senator Harris a chance to respond, but not at such great length, because of course there are other topics we want to talk about.
But I would like equal time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
First of all, to the Mueller family, I know about your daughter's case, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Are they in the audience? Bro, it's COVID. Go the fuck home.
Who's in the audience?
Awful. And it should have never happened.
American soldiers'
And I know Joe feels the same
killed
way.
by ISIS.
And I know that President Obama feels the same way.
ICE isn't.
But you mentioned Soleimani. Let's start there. So after the strike on Soleimani, there was a counter strike.
Bro, you can call him a terrorist, but that's
Iraq.
like literally every American general.
Yeah, that's
and
Pence equals yellow.
they suffered serious brain injuries. And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's, where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers.
Yeah, so we got 71 people
Donald
in here. Do you
Trump,
think we can get something trending
who
on
went
Twitter?
to Arlington Cemetery
So if everybody
and stood
tweeted,
above
Pence has a
the
piss can.
graves of our fallen heroes
I think we could do it.
and said, what's in it for them?
Hashtag Pence.
Because of course, he only thinks about what's in it for him.
Kink.
Let's take
Pass it
what
on.
he said about John McCain,
I'm gonna post it and tag my
a
future
great
employer.
American
Oh wait, should we
hero.
do Pence has a piss kink or Pence piss kink?
And Donald Trump says
Pence
he
piss.
doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war. And this is very important when you want to talk about who is the current commander-in-chief and what they care about and what they don't care about. Public reporting that Russia had bounties on the heads of American soldiers. And you know what a bounty is?
You gotta tweet this
somebody
right now.
puts a price on your head and they will pay it if you are killed.
Tweet that right
and
now.
Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times to Vladimir Putin and never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never do that. Joe Biden would, but Joe Biden would hold Russia to account for any threat to our nation's security or to our troops who are sacrificing their lives for the sake of our democracy and our safety.
Thank you, Senator Harris. This is such an important issue, but we have other important issues as well, and
Susan,
I want to make sure we have a chance to talk about.
No, I would assume a tiny nostril.
She has
15 seconds because
I gotta have
we're trying
more
to keep.
than that. Look,
well, I'm sorry,
okay, she hasn't
Vice President.
fucking
She's had more time than she's had so far.
Slanders against President Donald Trump regarding men and women of our armed forces are absurd.
I'm sorry, Vice
My
President
son
Pence.
is a captain in the United States Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed in the United States Navy. I can assure all of you, with sons and daughters serving in our military, President Donald Trump not only respects but reveres all of those who serve in our armed forces, and any suggestion otherwise is ridiculous.
Like so many fucking
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
The American people deserve, Susan, the American people deserve to know.
Vice President Pence, I did not, excuse me,
Susan, the
I did
American
not
people
create the
deserve to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden.
Your campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them, which involves moving from one topic to another, giving roughly equal time to both of you, which is what I'm trying very hard to do.
Go right ahead.
So I want to go ahead and move to the next topic, which is an important one, as the last topic was, and that is the Supreme Court. On Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to open hearings on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court. Senator Harris, you'll be there as a member of the committee. Yes. Her confirmation would cement the court's conservative majority and make it likely open to more abortion restrictions, even overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling. Access to abortion would then be up to the states. Vice President Pence, you're the former governor of Indiana. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want Indiana to do? Would you want your home state to ban all abortions? You have 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
Well, thank you for the question, but I'll use a little bit of my time to respond to that very important issue before. The American people deserve to know Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible for the death of hundreds of American service members. When the opportunity came, we saw him headed to Baghdad to kill more Americans. President Trump didn't hesitate, and Qasem Soleimani is gone. But you deserve to know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually criticized the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani. It's really inexplicable, but with regard to Joe Biden, it's explainable. Because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the raid against Osama bin Laden. It's absolutely essential that we have a commander-in-chief who will not hesitate to act to protect American lives and to protect American service members, and that's what you have in President Donald Trump. Now, with regard to the Supreme Court of the United States, let me say President Trump and I could not be more enthusiastic
Can you read it?
about the opportunity to see Judge Amy Coney Barrett become Justice Amy Coney Barrett.
Maybe at the end, though.
She's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States.
What?
And our hope is, in the hearing next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with treatment from you and others, we hope she gets a fair
has 5 biological kids and 2 adopted.
And we particularly hope that we don't see the kind of attacks on her Christian faith that we saw before. I mean, the Democrat chairman of the Judiciary Committee before, when Judge Barrett was being confirmed for the Court of Appeals, expressed concern that the dogma of her faith lived loudly in her.
Look good.
Dick Durbin of Illinois said that it was a concern. Senator, I know one of our judicial nominees you actually attacked because they were a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus. Just because the Knights of Columbus holds pro-life views and
thank you, Vice President Pence.
So
your time
my hope is that when the hearing takes place, that
thank you, Vice President Pence.
That Judge Amy Coney Barrett will be respected,
thank you, Vice President Pence.
Voted and confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Senator Harris, you're the senator from and former Attorney General of California. So let me ask you a parallel question to the one I posed to the Vice President. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want California to do? Would you want your home state to enact no restrictions on access to abortion? And you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the chat.
Thank you, Susan.
Probably.
First of all, Joe Biden and I are both people of faith.
Are we about
and it's insulting to suggest that we would knock anyone for their faith. And in fact, Joe, if elected, will be only the second practicing Catholic as president of the United States.
It's true, guys.
On the issue of this nomination, Joe and I are very
Thank you for normalizing our struggle.
We are 27 days before the decision about who will be the next president of the United States.
No fucking way.
And, you know, before, when this conversation has come up, you know, it's been about election year or election time.
What we need is we need the K-pop
We're literally in an
They'll
election.
get it trending.
Can my entire...
Over 4 million people have voted.
Twitter page.
People are in the process of voting right now. And so Joe has been very clear, as the American people are. Let the American people fill that seat in the White House.
I posted it on
and then we'll
TikTok.
fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court. And to your point, Susan, the issues before us couldn't be more serious. There's the issue of choice, and I will always fight for a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. It should be her decision and not that of Donald Trump and the Vice President, Michael Pence. But let's also look at what else is before the court. It's the Affordable Care Act.
I'm a K-pop stan. I got
literally
into it.
in the midst of a public health pandemic.
Get them.
When over 210,000 people have died and 7 million people probably have what will be in the future considered a pre-existing condition because you contracted the virus. Donald Trump is in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I said it before, and it bears repeating. This means
you know what? I got an
there
idea.
will be
I got
no
a fucking
more
idea.
protections if they win for people with pre-existing conditions.
English, idiot.
This means that over 20 million people will lose your coverage.
All right, I figured it out.
It means that if you're under the age of 26, you can't stay on your parents' coverage anymore. And here's the thing. The contrast couldn't be more clear. They're trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden is saying, let's expand coverage. Let's give you a choice of a public option or private coverage. Let's bring down premiums.
Thank you, Senator
Let's
Harris.
lower Medicare eligibility to 60.
Thank you, Senator.
That's true leadership.
You know, you mentioned earlier, Vice President Pence, that the president was committed to maintaining protections for people with pre-existing conditions. But you do have this court case that you are supporting, your administration supporting, that would strike down the Affordable Care Act. The president says, President Trump says that he's going to protect people with pre-existing conditions, but he has not explained how he would do that. And that was one of the toughest nuts to crack when they were passing the Affordable Care Act. So tell us specifically, how would your administration protect Americans with pre-existing conditions to have access to affordable insurance if the Affordable Care Act is struck down?
Well, thank you, Susan. But let me just say, addressing your very first question, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And this is another one of those cases where there's such a dramatic contrast. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. Late-term abortion. They want to increase funding to Planned Parenthood of America. Now, for our part, I would never presume how Judge Amy Coney Barrett would rule on the Supreme Court of the United States, but we'll continue to stand strong for the right to life. When you speak about the Supreme Court, though, I think the American people really deserve an answer, Senator Harris.
This is my great idea.
Are you and Joe Biden going to pack the court if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed?
Tweet.
I mean, there have been 29 vacancies on the Supreme Court during presidential election years, from George Washington to Barack Obama. Presidents have nominated in all 29 cases. But your party is actually openly advocating adding seats to the Supreme Court, which has had 9 seats for 150 years if you don't get your way. This is a classic case of if you can't win by the rules, you're going to change the rules. Now, you've refused to answer the question. Joe Biden has refused to answer the question. So I think the American people would really like to know if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed at the Supreme Court of the United States, are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864.
Well, I'd like you to answer the question.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Insert video of guys spinning.
In 1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, certainly of the president, I assume if you also Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election.
Okay.
And it was 27 days before the election. And a seat became open on the United States Supreme Court.
Okay.
Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate.
Yes.
But Honest Abe said,
he's a Republican!
The American people deserve to make the decision
look at his eye.
about who will be the next
look
president
how
of the
fucked
United
up this eye
States.
is. This one right here,
And
when
then
he
that
turns to look
person
at Kamala.
can select who will serve for a lifetime on the highest court of our land. And so Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now. And it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
There's a couple comments, not a lot though.
Thank you, Senator Harris.
People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Pence are doing
Let's
now.
talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe
Talk
Biden
about packing.
Wait a minute.
The straight answer is they are going
Hold
to
down your
the Supreme
pants.
Court if they somehow win this election.
I want to vote for you.
I'm tired of this.
If you cherish our
I'm
Supreme
tired
Court,
of this
if you
shit.
cherish
We're
the
gonna
separation
talk
of powers,
about
you need to
packing
reject
without talking
Without
about
your
ticket
team.
Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald Trump, and we'll
Why do you
stand
like
by
to
that
kiss so
separation
much? It's
powers
his
in a
own
9-seat
I'm
Supreme
literally
Court.
Yeah,
saying
let's talk
I
about
wanna
packing the
see
court then.
Mike Pence's
Let's talk
Trump's-
about
Please.
pack. Yeah, I'm about to.
Oh, the sass. The drama.
So I want to see Mike,
The
Joe's,
Trump-Pence
and
administration has
Trump,
been, because I sit on the
Donald's
Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you
penis,
mentioned.
and I want to see Kamala's
And I've
strap on.
witnessed
Yeah?
the
Whoever
appointments
has
for
the biggest.
lifetime
That's
appointments
I
to
know
the
she
federal
has.
courts,
You
district
can
courts,
tell.
courts of appeal.
Is
You
it,
think she does it?
People who are
it like-
purely
she's progressive.
ideological,
Is it
people who
7?
have been reviewed by
Is it like,
by
does it have,
legal
like, the weight
professional
on it?
organizations
Maybe.
and found to have been not
I don't know. What does
competent
her husband
are
say? Does she have a
substandard.
husband?
And do
I don't
you know
so.
that of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments,
fans, bro.
not one is
Retweeting
black?
all this shit, bro.
This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
You have
Thank
to
you,
get
thank
Twitter.
you, Senator. Let's
you
go
have
on and
to
talk
tweet out
about
Pence
the
has a
issue
piss can.
of
Right.
racial
Hit Twitter.
justice.
I just want the
Download
record to
the
reflect
Nick
she never
Fodder
answered the
You have
question.
to.
So I think maybe the next debate,
pick up.
Joe Biden will answer the question,
Thank you,
but I think
thank
the
you.
American people know the answer.
Thank you, Vice President.
Hi, we're streaming. Can you tweet
In
Mike
March,
has
Breonna
Mike Pence has
Taylor, a
piss
26-year-old
Pence has a
emergency room
piss can.
technician in
Tweet it.
Louisville, was shot and killed.
Can you
After
tweet
police
that right
officers
now?
executing a search warrant in a narcotics investigation
On
broke into her
Twitter, Mike
apartment.
Pence has a piss
The
can.
police
just
said
Pence has
they
a piss
identified
can.
themselves.
Pence has a piss king.
Taylor's boyfriend said he didn't hear them do
It's
that.
very important.
He used a gun registered to him to fire a shot, which wounded an officer. The
Also,
officers
it's
then
on
fired
screen.
more than 20 rounds into the apartment. They say they
So
were
I can't
acting
really talk.
in self-defense. None of them have
I'll
been
call you
indicted
after.
in connection with her death. Senator Harris, in the case of Breonna Taylor, was justice done? You have 2 minutes.
I don't believe so. And I've talked with Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, and her family. And her family deserves
Yes,
justice.
what
She
is
was a
it?
beautiful young woman.
Right.
She had
Pence
as
has
her
a
life
piss
goal
king,
to
though.
become a nurse, and she wanted to become an EMT to first learn what's going on
Pence, don't say
out
shit.
on the
I swear to
street,
fucking
so she could
God.
then become a nurse and save lives. And her life was taken unjustifiably and
I'll talk to you
tragically and
after-
violently.
After the stream.
And it brings me to, you know,
Okay, love you.
the
Bye.
8 minutes and 46 seconds that America witnessed, during which an American man was tortured and killed under the knee of an armed, uniformed police officer. And people around our country of every race, of every age, of every gender, perfect strangers to each other, marched
God, please don't
shoulder
say
to
shit.
shoulder,
Don't,
arm in
don't
arm,
say shit.
fighting for us to finally achieve that ideal of equal justice under law. And I was a part of those peaceful protests. And I believe strongly that, first of all, we are never going to condone violence.
Dude, everybody needs
but
to
we
fucking tweet
always
it. We
must
need to
fight
tweet it.
No fucking way.
You need to get
values that we hold dear, including the fight to achieve our ideals.
This is so
And that's
funny.
why Joe Biden and I have said on this subject. Look, and I'm a former career prosecutor. I know what I'm talking about. Bad cops are bad for good cops.
If we get 2,000,
we need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system, which is why Joe and I will immediately ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if we did that. We will require a national registry for police officers who break the law.
Very good.
We will, on the issue of criminal justice reform, get rid of private prisons and cash bail, and we will decriminalize marijuana, and we will expunge the records of those who have been convicted of marijuana. This is a time for leadership on a tragic issue of unarmed black people in America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me pose the same question to you. In the case of Breonna Taylor,
yes, you did.
Was justice done? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Pence with that guac, yeah. Oh,
Well, our heart breaks for the loss of any innocent American life. And the family of Breonna Taylor has our sympathies. But I trust our justice system, a grand jury that refused the evidence. And it really is remarkable that as a former prosecutor, you would assume that an impaneled grand jury looking at all the evidence got it wrong. But you're entitled to your opinion, Senator.
They did.
Look, with regard to George Floyd, there's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd. And justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed.
Cops are doing that.
I mean, it really is
police
astonishing.
officers and white
Flora Westbrook is
supremacists. Are
with
you
us here
okay?
tonight in Salt Lake City. Just a few weeks ago, I stood at what used to be her salon. It was burned to the ground by rioters and looters. And Flora is still trying to put her life back together. And I must tell you, this presumption
This is one of the last
that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that America is systemically racist. And that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities
Why do I have 79
is a great insult to the men and women who serve in law enforcement. And I want everyone to know who puts on the uniform of law enforcement every day that President Trump and I stand with
That's
you.
really funny.
And it is remarkable that when Senator Tim Scott tried to pass a police reform bill, brought together a group of Republicans and Democrats, Senator Harris, you got up and walked out of the room. And then you filibustered Senator Tim Scott's bill on the Senate floor that would have provided new accountability, new resources. Look, we don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement, improving public safety, and supporting our African American neighbors and all of our minorities. Under President Trump's leadership, we'll always stand with law enforcement, and we'll do what we've done from day one, and is improve the lives of African Americans.
Thank you, Vice
record
President
unemployment, record investments in
He's a bug on his
education,
head.
fight for school choice.
What is on his head? Wait, does he deadass have a bug on his head?
Bug on his
I will sit here and be lectured by the Vice
Dirty.
President.
The bug needs to get into his
Enforce the
lizard
laws of our country.
brain.
I am the only one on this stage who was personally prosecuted. Everything from
Prince,
child sexual
Prince.
assault to homicide. I'm the only one on this stage who has prosecuted the big banks for taking advantage of America's homeowners. I'm the only one on this stage who prosecuted for-profit colleges for taking advantage of our veterans.
You gotta go there. You gotta. This
And
is
the reality of this is that we are talking about an election in 27 days, where last week the President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
Everybody's gotta chill. I gotta.
Not true.
It wasn't like he didn't have a
Is it stuck in his
chance.
head?
He didn't do it, and then he doubled down. And then he said, when pressed,
you got a bug on your head, dog. Get the
stand by.
Ew.
And this is a
Is it stuck in his head? It's in his head!
Trump's.
Ew.
Why is... Oh, it flew away! It
Mexicans,
flew away!
rapists, and criminals. He instituted as his first act a Muslim ban. He, on the issue of Charlottesville, where people were peacefully protesting.
Pence has
the need for racial justice, where a young woman was killed, and on the other side there were neo-Nazis carrying tiki torches, shouting racial epithets, anti-Semitic slurs, and Donald Trump, when asked about it, said there were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the president of the United States. And America, you deserve better. Joe Biden will be a president who brings our country together.
Senator Harris,
and recognizes the beauty in our diversity and the fact that we all have so much more in common than what separates us.
Vice President Pence, let me give you a minute to respond.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that very much. You know, I think this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media
Mike
so much.
Pence gets fly on head to try and diverge away from the fact he has a piss
Senator
cake.
Harris did. Comments that President Trump and I and others on our side of the aisle make. I mean, Senator Harris conveniently omitted, after the president made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so repeatedly. You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American people. But you talk about having personally prosecuted. I'm glad you brought up your records.
Thank you.
I really need to make this point. When you were DA in San Francisco, when you left office, African Americans were 19 times more likely to be prosecuted for minor drug offenses than whites and Hispanics. When you were Attorney General of California, you increased the disproportionate incarceration of blacks in California. You did nothing on criminal justice reform in California. You didn't lift a finger to pass the First Step Back on Capitol Hill. I mean, the reality is your record speaks for itself. President Trump and I have fought for criminal justice reform.
Thank you, Vice President.
Fought for educational choice and opportunities for African Americans. All of our
Thank you, sir.
And we'll do it for free.
Thank you. You know, there is no more important issue than the final issue that we're going to talk about tonight, and that is the issue of the election itself.
He attacked my record. I would like an opportunity to respond.
Let me give you 30 seconds because we're running out of time.
I appreciate that. First of all, having served as the Attorney General of the state of California, the work that I did is a model of what our nation needs to do, and we will be able to do under a Joe Biden presidency. Our agenda includes what this administration has failed to do. It will be about not only instituting a ban on chokeholds and carotid holes.
Thank you.
Not only.
Thank you, Senator.
I would like to go through.
These are points that you made earlier in the hour, and I want to talk about the election itself before we have to.
But I want to talk about the connection between what Joe and I will do and my record, which includes I was the first statewide officer to institute a requirement that my agents would wear body cameras and keep them on full time. We were the first to initiate a requirement that there would be a training for law enforcement on implicit bias because, yes, Joe Biden and I recognize that implicit bias does exist, Mr. Vice President, contrary to what you may believe. We did the work of instituting reforms that were about investing in reentry. This is the work that we have done and the work we will do going forward. And again, I will not be lectured by the Vice President on our record of what we have done in terms of law enforcement and keeping our communities safe and a commitment to reforming the criminal justice system of America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. And I'd like to pose the first. I'd like you to respond first to the question on our final topic, the election itself.
Oh my God. I agree.
President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If your ticket wins and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what steps would you and Vice President Biden then take? What would happen next? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll tell you, Joe and I are, I think, particularly proud of the coalition that we've built around our campaign. We probably have one of the broadest coalitions of folks that you've ever seen in a presidential race. Of course, we have the support of Democrats, but also independents and Republicans. In fact, 7 members of President George W. Bush's cabinet are supporting our ticket.
Chaos.
We have the support of Colin Powell, Cindy McCain, John Kasich, over 500 generals, retired generals, and former national security experts and advisors are supporting our campaign. And I believe they are doing that because they know that Joe Biden has a deep, deep-seated commitment to fight for our democracy and to fight for the integrity of our democracy and to bring integrity back to the White House. And so we believe in the American people. We believe in our democracy. And here's what I'd like to say to everybody.
Right.
Vote. Please vote. Vote early. Come up with a plan to vote. Go to iwillvote.com. You can also go to joebiden.com. We have it within our power in these next 27 days
Holy shit,
to make the decision about what will be the course of our country for the next 4 years. And it is within our power, and if we use our vote and we use our voice, we will win.
There's like a way to check
and we will not let anyone subvert our democracy with what Donald Trump has been doing, as he did on the debate stage last week. When again, in front of 70 million people,
I already filled out my absentee, not knowing if I was going to be in college or not. So I figured if I already had it, then I might as well vote that way. You know what I mean?
Joe Biden, on the other hand, on that same debate stage, because clearly Donald Trump doesn't think he can run on a record because it's a failed record. Joe Biden on that stage said, "Hey, just please vote." So I'll repeat what Joe said. Please vote.
Thank you, Senator. Vice President Pence, President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If Vice President Biden is declared the winner and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what would be your role and responsibility as Vice President? What would you personally do? You have 2 minutes.
Well, Susan, first and foremost, I think we're going to win this election. Because while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris rattle off a long litany of the establishment in Washington, D.C., an establishment that Joe Biden's been a part of for 47 years, President Donald Trump has launched a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. And I have every confidence that those same Americans that delivered that historic victory in 2016, they see this president's record, where we rebuild our military, we revived our economy through tax cuts and rolling back regulation, fighting for fair trade, unleashing American energy. We appointed conservatives to our federal courts at every level. And we stood with the men and women of law enforcement every single day. And I think that movement of Americans has only grown stronger in the last 4 years. But when you talk about accepting the outcome of the election, I must tell you, Senator, your party has spent the last 3.5 years trying to overturn the results of the last election. It's amazing. When Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, the FBI actually spied on President Trump and my campaign. There were documents released this week that the CIA actually made a referral to the FBI documenting that those allegations were coming from the Hillary Clinton campaign. And of course, we've all seen the avalanche, what you put the country through for the better part of 3 years until it was found that there was no obstruction, no collusion, case closed. And then Senator Harris, you and your colleagues in the Congress tried to impeach the President of the United States over a phone call. And now Hillary Clinton has actually said to Joe Biden that in her words, under no circumstances should he concede the election. So let me just say, I think we're going to win this election. President Trump and I are fighting every day in courthouses to prevent Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from changing the rules and creating this universal mail-in voting that will create a massive opportunity for voter fraud. We have a free and fair election. We know we're going to have confidence in it. And I believe in all my heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
You know, I've written all the questions that I've asked tonight, but for the final question of the debate, I'd like to read a question that someone else wrote. The Utah Debate Commission asked students in the state to write essays about what they would like to ask you. And I want to close tonight's debate with the question posed by Brecklin Brown. She's an 8th grader at Springville Junior High in Springville, Utah. And here's what she wrote, quote, "When I watch the news, all I see is arguing between Democrats and Republicans. When I watch the news, all I see is citizen fighting against citizen. When I watch the news, all I see are 2 candidates from opposing parties trying to tear each other down. If our leaders can't get along,
Lincoln Park, if
how
you're
are
out
the
there,
citizens supposed to get along?" And then she added, Your examples could make all the difference to bring us together.
About
end
Pence
quote.
having a
So
fly
to
on his
each
head
of you in
on
turn,
my
I'd like
story
you to
on
take
Snapchat.
1 minute and respond
Our friend
to Brecklin. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute.
swipes up on my
it's a wonderful
story and goes,
question.
he found a dookie.
And let me just commend you for taking an interest in public life. I started following the news when I was very young. And in America,
Oh my God!
we believe in a free and open
He's like
exchange
me!
of debate. And we celebrate that. And it's how we've created literally the freest and most prosperous nation
We're not.
in the history of the world. And I
Mike
would tell
Pence
you that
looking like the bottom of a stingray.
don't assume that what you're seeing
Immaculate.
on your local news networks is synonymous with the American people. You know, I look at the relationship between Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late justice who we just lost from the Supreme Court, and the late Justice Antonin Scalia. They were on polar opposites on the Supreme Court of the United States, one very liberal, one very conservative. But what's been learned since her passing was the two of them and their families were the very closest of friends. I mean, here in America, we can disagree, we can debate vigorously, as Senator Harris and I have on this stage tonight. But when the debate is over, we come together as Americans. And that's what people do in big cities and small towns all across this country. So I just want to encourage you, Brecklin. I want to tell you that we're going to work every day to have government as good as our people. And the American people each and every day love a good debate. We love a good argument. But we always come together and are always there for one another
Thank you,
in times of need. And we've especially learned that through the difficulties of this year.
Senator Harris, what would you say to Brecklin?
First of all, I love hearing from our young leaders. And when I hear her words, when I hear your words, Brecklin, I know our future is bright because it is that perspective on who we are and who we should be. That is a sign of leadership and is something we should all aspire to be. And that, you know, that brings me to Joe. Joe Biden.
If anybody can,
one of the reasons that Joe decided to run
Twitter account and tweet
for
it like
president
1,000 times
is after Charlottesville, which we talked about earlier. It so troubled him and upset him like it did all of us that there was that kind of hate and division. What
Bro, we went
Joe
over
to
the
run
time.
for
It's past
president
10:30.
was to see that over the course of the last 4 years,
shailed.
what Brecklin described has been happening.
The ship is
Joe
shailed,
has a
buddy.
long-standing reputation of working across the aisle. They're working in a bipartisan way. And that's what he's going to do as president.
I think you should.
Joe Biden has a history of lifting people up and fighting for their dignity. I mean, you have to know Joe's story to know that Joe has known pain, he has known suffering, and he has known love. And so, Brecklin, when you think about the future, I do believe the future is bright.
This is the last question.
And it will be because of your leadership. And it will be because we fight for each person's voice through their vote. And we get engaged in this election because you have the ability through your work and through eventually your vote.
Thank you,
to determine the future of our country and what its leadership looks like.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you, Vice President Pence. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We want to thank also the University of Utah for its hospitality, and most of all, our thanks to all the Americans who watched this debate tonight. Again, our best wishes for a quick recovery to President Trump, the First Lady, and everyone who is battling COVID-19. The second presidential debate is next week on October 15th, a town hall style debate in Miami. We hope you'll join us then.
Okay, guys.
Flies are attracted to bullshit. Dude, people are lighting this guy up.
Twitter bot free. Cheap bots done quickly. I'm not signing in with my Twitter.
No.
I'm not signing in with my Twitter.
Don't get caught lacking, dude.
If anybody knows how to make a bot for Twitter, can they do that?
Somebody
right
just
now?
make a bot and tweet Pence has a piss kink.
Can somebody do that?
Just do that.
Is anybody smart enough to do that?
You're all very smart.
You're all very smart people.
Learn how to do it.
I'll lift up the skirt.
Oh,
I'll do it.
Oh, you guys have incentive now. You got to do it.
I'll do it. I really won't. There's too many minors.
What are minors? Like
getting
diamonds.
Yeah, like getting diamonds
and
iron.
Nice.
They don't like seeing that kind of stuff.
People
they
get
offended. They have very traditional values.
People will get black lung if they see you under your skirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like worse than black.
No, I get it. I'm sorry that you're a minor, dude. I hope you get a different job soon. That's very dangerous.
It is very dangerous. Please tweet that. I'm begging you to tweet that.
There are creepers down there. Dude, creepers and miners.
Do you think that's like... I feel like that's
intentional. It has to be.
Because Notch is like a creepy dude.
Is he?
Yeah.
Think so?
He's like canceled. That's why it was good that he was canceled after he sold it to Microsoft.
Canceled. He took it up a notch.
Please do all that though.
Yeah.
Please tweet that.
Yep.
Please tweet.
What else do we have to talk about?
Nothing. This debate was very boring.
But it like wasn't mind-numbing like the last one.
Here's my takeaway. I thought Kamala Harris did a great job. I thought she held herself together. Pence has nothing to work with, and he really tried so hard to like reiterate Trump's points while also lying through his teeth, which is a difficult stance to take.
Pence is a very good like politician.
Yeah, I think he took a very hard stance. He's a horrible person with a terrible moral compass and will rot in hell. But I thought for the stance that he was taking, I thought that he did a great job arguing. I did think that he stepped over the line a lot of times trying to continue talking, cutting her off, which I thought was annoying.
Yeah.
But overall, I hope Kamala Harris is the vice president because I think Pence is just a fucking lizard and I don't think he deserves it.
Yeah, he's really good.
Also, I would no, I don't know. They're both awful. So, if you're still there, and you're still watching, even though the debate is turned off, I appreciate you watching our antics and stress eating through this entire thing.
Exactly. Thank you all for being here, especially since we hit 83 viewers. I think that's our new top for our Creeker stream.
That's insane,
Thank you all.
dude.
Love you all. Have a beautiful night.
Please take care of yourself.
Have a good sexy.
Be good sexy.
I think
Send Bobs.
I think I'm gonna do a stream on Friday. Oh shit! I don't know of what. And then Creekers Saturday, as usual, 2:00. And please join that. Love you all. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.
I'm gonna go piss now.
On Mike Pence.
On Mike Pence, because that's what he's like. Mike has a piss kink. Pence
has a piss kink.
Please tweet it now.
Good night.